Hello there. Thanks so much for joining. You're here live with Shamaray with HCBC. This is my weekly Wednesdays at lunchtime techniques and tutorials. Today's technique that we're going to be reviewing is for Stampin Up. I haven't created this for other brands yet. If there is interest, I would totally do it. But this is just an inventory reference sheet. Basically a way to identify what colors are already in our collection, what ones still need to come. It includes the in colors as well. So with regards to in colors, they change every 2 years. Oh, I'm sorry, every year we introduce new in colors, but each collection is only around for 2 years. So for those who have been demonstrators or customers for a very long time, there are several areas to put in prior years and for us to grow our collection for future years as well. So I've even included 2022 and 2024 are new colors that are getting ready to come out. So actually, I think today we should see the PDF as demonstrators. So that is the color inventory sheet. I did want to discuss why I created this. The main reason is some demonstrators, some customers, when we're buying colors to add to our collection, we're buying them in small batches. We do have collections where you can order the entire Bright's collection, Subtle's collection, Regal's collection. You can order all the stamp pads together. You can order you do order the Stampin' Write markers together at a discounted price. But others, we're just buying them one-off. Okay, that could be the blends, that's one-off. There are 2 collections of watercolor pencils, so you might not have all the colors. And it even includes our new natural tones collection. So that was just recently introduced this year. All right, so the reason again that it was created is just one of my crafty friends needed help seeing what was in her collection. So in addition to building your collection and marking them off as you get these colors, I think this is a really great tool for longtime demonstrators who have all the colors to be able to see it, right? To be able to see all these colors at a glance. So of course our catalogs have a beautiful, usually a beautiful display of colors, but I really like seeing it in this format. I can see all the different mediums, all the different ways to apply the colors to paper and how they look. In addition, I'll go over this in more detail in just a little bit. I have a single stamp with the ink. I have a double stamp and then a stamp off. So you can see, a couple different ways that this is useful with regards to swatching. At the very end of today's tutorial, I also want to go over the way that I am swatching my colors, or I have been for the past couple years, and it's on tags. And so those tags, you can see I have the blended color, I have the water painter colors, and then I have again a single stamp, a double stamp, so more intense color, and then a stamp off. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I swatch as well. All right, so the different sections that we have on a brand new blank piece of paper are the brights, the subtles, the regals, and the neutrals. And these are the most common, these are the long time collections of colors. We also have something called the basics, and that's your blacks, your whites, your ivories, bronzes. We have some other pens and tools like color lifters and blender pens. So I added those all to this basics collection. The natural tones, and on the back we have our in color. All right, so I'm gonna clean off my camera really quickly, make sure we're getting the best color. All right, so that is what we're gonna do to get started, one thing is this is available for free download. So I've put this on my blog. I just posted it this morning, and it's free to download. If you find that this is really useful, feel free to share it with others. I'd really appreciate you just giving me a little bit of credit or pointing them to my website to download it for free. Of course, if we have to go through a different, if our collections get a refresh, which I'm guessing is coming in the next couple of years, I'm gonna have to remake this, but it does have my information along the top and the date that this printout was created. Okay. So with regards to the in colors, again, we have all the specific years, and you can handwrite any of these in. I'm getting ready to write in the 2022-2024 in colors. But for today, one other thing, once you download this, you can print it on 2 separate pieces of cardstock. I instead used one single sheet of thick cardstock. I did that because with the Stampin' Blends, if you apply a lot of ink when you're swatching, it's going to end up being really, it's going to bleed through your cardstock. So I'll go over that when I get to the Stampin' Blends and I show you how I'm swatching on here. And so yeah, so you'll see that. I'll show it here. Okay, so I've got all the colors laid down, and on the back, just a little bit. You can see I was a little heavy on some of these, but not much. So it doesn't take away, the colors don't mess with the colors that are displayed on this side. All right, so thick basic white cardstock is what I'm using to print this on. And so now, very simply how I use this. I picked up Bermuda Bay because it has most, or all, it does. It has all of these. If you look up closely also, I put the word or the term NA in the ones that are no longer offered. So Mango Melody used to have Stampin' Blends, but they're not offered anymore. So I've marked them as NA. And that way, again, as you're building your collection, you can identify the ones where, okay, I know that there aren't going to be any colors there for me to complete my collection. All right, so Bermuda Bay is one of the brights. So that's in our first top collection. And so I'm going to start off with the colored pencils. Okay, so that is watercolor pencil for Bermuda Bay. Okay, it does take a little bit to make sure that you're doing this in the correct little spot. So I'm just going to lay down my ink, my lead, the watercolor. I have my watercolor painter. I'm going to add a little bit of water on top of that, of the right side. And then I'm going to color on top of it, again, with the watercolor pencil. And so doing this, I can see both the light shade and the dark shade of this. Okay. Next, I have my Stampin' Blends. I'm going to do the Stampin' Right next. Stampin' Right marker. And all I did for this one was a simple strike through of color, because there is no technical blending with these ones. So I just lifted that twice. If you wanted to, you could do a secondary dark one, so you can see kind of adding on a second layer. But again, I want to be careful to not have the ink bleed through. So again, with a thick cardstock, it won't. It shouldn't. All right, for the Stampin' Blends, I'm going to get my light first. I'm using the brush tip on both of these, the Stampin' Rights and the Blends. Stampin' Blends, the light side, one quick strike. And again, I'm not being heavy with my hand and pressing down, just a very light brush so I can see the color there. All right, so dark Bermuda Bay. To show you what I did for the stamping. Okay, so I gave a little bit of extra space or width in these rows. So for the classic Stampin' Pad, what I did here, we have a whole bunch of tiny stamps in a lot of our collections. So as an example, Blossoms in Bloom. Okay, this one has a really tiny one, and this is actually what I used for my sample, my prototype inventory sheet. This one has a really great leaf if you wanted to use it. This one has a really cute little bow tie, a star on this one. So all of these are really great for just marking your inventory. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the tiny little stamp. I have a little stamp block around here. All right, so for Bermuda Bay, for the classic stamp, what I did was one generation. I did one where I have a doubled, like it's overlapping, so you can see it's a little bit darker. Okay, so I stamped twice on the second one, and then I stamped off. Okay, so a stamp off for anyone who is new to this. Where's my scrap paper? Scrap paper around here somewhere. All right, so in this scenario, stamping off is you stamp once, and then instead of re-inking right away, you're just stamping off, so it's a little bit lighter. Okay, so that's what I'm doing in this spot. So that's why there's 3 little spots. Again, this was the tiniest little stamp in Blossoms in Bloom. All right, so I did that for that one, and then I was getting creative with the classic Stampin' Ink refill. So if you own one of these, again, you could simply just check off all of these. This is just a fun little way, again, to see all the different shades of colors. Okay, so I pressed ink into my cap here. If you have an ink refiller, you can put it onto your stamp block if you want. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of ink. I have a little extra water, a little bit of ink. And then what I'm going to do is just, again, don't want to apply a ton of water, just a little bit, so I can see what that looks like. Okay, if I dab off a lot of water, I can grab a little bit darker, and I can see that more concentrated water. Okay, so again, I'm trying to show the lights and the darks of all these different mediums that we have in our collections. And again, for the Stampin' Spot ink pad, the spots are these cute, tiny little ones. They come in paper pumpkins. We have starter spot kits. So there's like a 8-pack, I believe, or 10-pack that has a whole bunch of different colors across all of the different collections. We also have un-inked spots. So when I first started with Stampin' Up, I started crafting, I made a collection of Stampin' Spots. So this is all ones either I made with an uninked spot. They come in a 5-pack, I believe, or ones that came in paper pumpkin kits or other kits. That's how I started this collection. And I just used one of our little butterfly punches. I believe this one's retired, so I could easily see the colors. And again, similar to our main ink pads, these are stored upside down. So are our little stamp spots, at least I do. And that way the color is more concentrated at the top of your ink pad for when you're ready to use it. So ink spots. This one I haven't done yet on my inventory sheet. So my concept here was, again, I could get a different stamp if I wanted to, or, you know, a check mark, or just stamp. Tiny little stamp to say I have it. All right, so that is how you create and swatch, kind of swatch. This is the mini swatch on your color inventory. It's how you check off all the colors that you have. Okay, so that's how I completed this sheet. All right, and now I want to show you the color swatch template. This was created, I'm hoping we're going to see how close to 2 inches this was. Okay, so you can create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 swatch tags on each of, on one sheet here. I've even put how I swatch this, and this is just a guideline. I have my Stampin' blends toward the top. I can do my watercolor pencils, water painter, the Stampin' Right, a single stamp, a double stamp, and a stamp off. Okay, so I have all of those listed here. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right down the middle. And this should be at 4 1/4. It's pretty close. All right, so there's 4 1/4. And then each of these should be at 2 inches. Not quite. I might have to modify this before too many people download it. All right, so let's see if this is 2 inches. I think that last one might not be. Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah, this last one is not 2 inches. So I started at the top at doing 2 inches. And I did 2 inches so that way we could use our tag toppers, our tag topper punches. Okay, so just a tiny bit of scrap left. All right, so here's 5. I'm not going to do the other ones on screen. All right, so the idea here is, yep, you get your 2-inch piece of paper. Let's unlock my punch. And punch down. And that's going to leave you with these cute little tags. So you can do the front or the back. Now if you have a hole puncher, crocodile, whatever you have, if you just want to keep these square, that's totally your call, but you know, our tag toppers are really cute. All right. So there we go. And now I'm going to take you through what I do here. Again, I'm going to use a scrap paper. All right, so stamping and single stamping. I'm going to use this cute balloon in our Hippo Happiness set, which is actually retiring soon. Haven't used this cute little balloon. It's a nice solid stamp. Okay, I'll clean that one later. All right, so nice solid stamp. Same thing. Oops. Got a little ink on my fingers. Get the little balloon. I'm going to do a single stamp down here. If you have room for the size stamp that you have, I'm going to double stamp. Oops, I didn't do that completely. Okay, double stamp so you can see it's a tiny bit darker. And then with that same one, I'm also going to do a stamp off. Okay, just so you can see the 3 colors. It's okay, I'm kind of awkward and on a scrap piece of paper, so it's okay that you don't have a complete one. Really, you just want to be able to see the colors. All right, and then, so that's the single stamp, double stamp, and stamp off, depending on how big of a stamp you use. There's plenty of space. You can do the Stampin' Right marker. Okay, good, nice little scribbles. I actually also have the blending tool, so I think that would be a fun one to see how that reacts. Okay, so just a little bit lighter along the side. We just did the Stampin' Right. We're going to do the water painter. Good with this one. Grab a little bit. Okay, so there's a little bit of lightness to that one. Pick up a little bit extra color. And there's a darker shade, both using the same water painter. Okay, so water painter, stamp and blend. You can do that right above. So I've got my light. Oops, let me move my ink pad. Okay. So if you want to blend, you can even do that. So there's a nice little shade there. And I'll blend on top of that. And then I'll get the bottom part again so it just all blends together. Okay, so it's the light to dark Bermuda Bay. The watercolor pencil was one that I hadn't had before. So I'm going to do a little bit of lightness. To start, you have a little bit more space than we did on the color inventory sheet. I'm going to get my water painter. I'm going to clean it off so it doesn't have any extra color on it. I'm going to get it wet on one side. And then laying the watercolor pencil on top of the water makes it, of course, much darker. All right, and then the last thing that I have here is blending brush. All right, so for the blending brush, get my ink. Okay, make sure I don't have another color on here. Okay. All right, so going from off the page onto it. All right, and so that is kind of how I swatched. Again, this is my older ones because I started this quite a while ago. And so I just had the ink blending, and I used a big square stamp. But really, I'm going to be going through all of my colors and doing this. The main reason is because, there's so many more mediums now. You can squeeze these down so that way if we introduce any other mediums, that it can be added to this same swatch. Okay, and then, yep, just write your color on here with your hand, or label printer, whatever you want to do. I will do a separate video. My plan also, and this was a thinner one, you can see that the alcohol blends came through. I'm going to plan to swatch all my alcohol markers for all the art that I do with using the alcohol inks. Okay, so I use a lot of our Stampin' blends on vellum and get different colors. So I was thinking about swatching that and putting it on the back of these tags at a later time. So stay tuned weekly to see when I cover that technique. So with that, I believe that was everything I wanted to cover today. Quick and easy, under 30 minutes because you're crafting with me on my lunch. This was the color inventory sheet, brand new that I created, along with how I swatch. So I really appreciate you joining me, whether you're watching it live or with the replay. Thank you so much for being here. Take care.